Tanks are always changing, evolving, and growing, and today we're gonna take my little overgrown beginner shrimp tank and switch it up completely to something brand new. Hello and welcome back to Creative Pet Keeping, and speaking of pet keeping, shrimp keeping has been a really fun and amazing adventure. I've been learning so much about all my little different shrimp. These particular ones that you see right here are the orange pumpkin shrimp, and they're the Neocaridina. And check this out, look at the little babies. You can actually see their eyes. This mama is holding on to them and taking care of her little eggs while also fanning them around and ensuring that there's good water flow, which in turn ensures that there is good oxygen circulation and that her little babies are safe until they are ready to hatch. So let's get started. First, I moved the light out of the way, but I'm still keeping it on just because I want to be able to see inside the tank a little better. And it's gonna help me catch the shrimp, which I'm gonna kind of do here and there as I see them. Because this tank is so thickly planted, it's kind of hard to find them all at once right away. What I should have done is I should have put some food in their little food dish, and that way they would have came out to the front of the tank. But I didn't really think this through. So here I catch one little shrimpy and then proceed to start taking things out bit by bit. And as I'm doing that, I'm also cleaning off the hair algae that is on there. I'm kind of using tongs. Both of these things, both the tongs as well as the light, I actually got from Aquarium Co-op, and there is an affiliate link in my description if you want to get either of those. It kind of helps my channel a little bit. And the little shrimp net that I got was from Flip Aquatics. So I'm kind of plugging all my favorite fish stores if you want to know where to get all your cool fish stuff. Here I ended up switching things up because while I could see what was inside the tank, I realized that on camera you guys weren't seeing things very well because the Nano in the corner was kind of blowing out the light. So I turned on other adjacent lights in hopes that that would help. I also caught a few other shrimp and put them in a little container. I'm going to slow down the footage back to normal speed so we can see my struggles, because I wanted to remove some of the corkscrew valve and I thought it was going to nicely come out and the gravel was going to trickle down, but instead, because the roots are so thick, I took out an entire big chunk of the gravel with all the roots. And here I am kind of wondering, which is why I kind of slowed down, rethinking my life decisions over here. On top of that, it's tangled with the pothos plant roots. And I was supposed to put that in a little specimen container that's hanging on the side of the tank. And I'm just like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to put this? This is not how I planned this. Oh boy. And then I had the idea that I'll just put it in the waste bucket, which is the orange bucket that you see on the side where I'm going to be siphoning all the water. Because I figured I'll just rinse it in there anyways. And it's just going to hang out in there and hopefully not dry out. By the way, in the reflection, that is not my dog, that is Basil. She is my cousin's recent rescue, and I was watching her for the day. I wanted to turn my light back on so I can see if I missed any shrimp so I can catch them, and dun dun dun, with the power of my phone and technology, I can turn on the light and adjust it. Now it is time to clean up the mess that I have made. So I'm going to gravel vac all of the detritus, mulm, kind of fish poop, well not fish, shrimp poop, that's kind of gathered, and I guess snail poop because snails are in here as well. It has gathered over a long time. Now usually it's a lot easier for me to gravel vac all of my tanks, but because this is such a little tank and it became so heavily planted, I just did water changes with Daniel and we didn't really gravel vac much, so it all kind of built up. That is kind of the downside of working with a smaller tank and also working with a more heavily planted tank, because it's harder to clean everything up. Always remember that your tank is a closed system, and too much of anything, even something that is originally good, can become a bad thing. So here I'm sprinkling the gravel in. Why? Now looking back at this footage, I don't know. I should have probably poured it back in. Who sprinkles gravel in slowly? It's not even like I'm setting up different colors of gravels or textures of gravel. No, it's the same type of small black gravel. And I'm sprinkling it in, even though I could have just poured it in, smoothed it out. Would have been way faster, but you know what? Sometimes we're not logical. Now it is time to refill the tank, and I'm using the Fritz Guard water conditioner. By the way, Fritz is a channel sponsor, so is Flip Aquatics. And this Fritz guard is shrimp safe, so I'm adding that in to dechlorinate the water and also remove heavy metals. And then I'm going to use the black water clear from Brightwell Aquatics. That is not sponsored. I actually like it because it provides humic substances for shrimp. That is so important for certain shrimp and fish species, in my opinion, and is super, super underrated. The humic substances, that is, because it's naturally found in a lot of different biotopes. But another thing I need to say is I love watching tanks fill up. That is the most satisfying thing ever for me. Am I the only weird person that thinks that? Let me know in the comments down below. I am going to be using about half of the Vallisneria that I took out. I'm going to put half back in, and that's not even all of it. The rest is actually in the bucket right now, and I trimmed the roots. Trimming the roots helps make it easier to put the plants back into the gravel, in my opinion, and it's much easier to use the tongs. By the way, if you ever start planting things using tongs and you're struggling and you're having a hard time, don't worry. It takes a while to kind of get the hang of it and get good at it. When I first started out, I struggled so much, and I wonder what was wrong with me, because I would see other people in videos put everything in their tanks and it look so easy, and I was like, why am I having a hard time? And you know what? It wasn't just me. Everyone learns, and it's something you get better at over time. In regards to a particular scape, I didn't really have much planned out. I just put the plants back in, but didn't put them in all the way to the edges so that they have space to grow and kind of spread out all over again. And I left the rest of the Vallisneria to put in my other tanks. So it's kind of cool. You can propagate your plants and move them around to different tanks. I did switch the filters between this 5-gallon and the 4-gallon that I moved to a different location. I used to have a sponge filter on this tank, but that meant that I had to run an extra little air pump. I thought this was a lot easier to put this little corner hang on the back filter, and the sponge will prevent the little shrimpies from getting sucked up. And of course, I'm going to add more Val because that is my favorite plant of all time. My second favorite plant would be Anubias, I think. So just different types of Vallisnerias and Anubias. I just need both of them in my life, and I'll be a happy little fish keeper and shrimp keeper and pet keeper and plant keeper. All the keepers. I also decided to add some driftwood, but it was still floating and needed to get waterlogged, so I thought I will just shove it in sideways and just leave it like that for a few days, and I picked out some pretty rocks. So let's take a closer look at my rocks. Can we take a moment to acknowledge how magical and majestical this sparkle rock is? I have no clue what kind of rock it is, but I did get it at the aquarium store in the hardscape section, so I'm trusting them with my life that this is aquarium safe, as well as these pretty blue rocks. Someone please help me identify this. I love collecting different rocks and minerals and crystals, and I never remember what any of them are. It is like the bane of my existence, but I have the worst memory ever, so I'm hoping that one of you guys will know, because I have a pretty smart audience. So here I am going to kind of add some of the hardscape in, as well as the little shrimp feeding dish. Now the reason why I'm using a feeding dish is because with this big gravel that I'm using, it is very easy for the shrimp food to get stuck and kind of get down between the rocks, where it will kind of just go bad and follow the water. So having a feeding dish is very helpful. I like putting mine at the front so I can see my little shrimpies up close. I am also going to add some more plants. I don't remember what this guy is, but he's a happy little plant. That's what we're going to call him. I kind of wonder if this can even be considered a scape, because there is literally no logic that kind of went into this. I just put in some cool rocks. I put in some driftwood in a way that will at least hold it down. In my opinion, ended up looking kind of cool, a little different. It's kind of like the shrimp bridge that is next to Shrimp Mountain. And the reason I'm using blue rocks, now there's the only part that I actually thought about, is that blue is a contrasting color to orange, so it'll actually make the orange pumpkin shrimp pop a lot more. I kind of wonder how a tank with blue gravel and orange pumpkin shrimp would look. Now I know some of you purists out there will be like, colorful gravel is the worst, but really, think about it. It might actually look pretty cool. And I've used blue gravel before with natural plants, and it doesn't look that bad. You know, sometimes doing weird things outside the box is fun, because aquariums, although we try to mimic nature, they're not really that natural. It's just a glass box, a little tiny ecosystem that we create. So if we want to use some different colors or do weird things, as long as it doesn't negatively affect the critters that live there, why not? So here is what I have so far. It's probably going to change. I hope you don't hear the screaming children outside, but they are having fun times and enjoying the last remaining warm weather. So on that note, before they get any louder, I'm just going to let you enjoy this tank.